And so we are welcoming Leah Hirschfeld to be with us. And Leah, it's very exciting. It's the first time we've had you on since we've been in our self seclusion mode. But thank you for taking the time for being with us.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for having me. And it was, I'll plug Vince there. That was such a lovely response, and it was such a pleasure to get to hear it too. It was delightful.
Yeah. Absolutely. He's the best of the best. So Leah, for people who are tuning in for the first time, tell us what you do at CARD and what you're going to share with us.
Absolutely. So I am a research coordinator here at CARD on our research and development team. What that means is I spend my day trying to answer questions that we think will either help our families either through additional information about therapy services or help them on the back end of with insurance companies, things like that. I also get to spend my time answering questions from supervisors. So supervisors might say, you know, I have a kid with X, Y, and Z. We've tried X, Y, and Z. It's not working. Is there any empirical research out there that can help us? Because, you know, CARD, ABA services, we're very data driven. So that is something that we try to provide. We don't just try to experiment on people. So I spend a lot of my day answering questions, going through research papers, and trying to kind of figure out the best empirically backed data and research for our kiddos and our families and the insurance companies.
Wonderful. So what are you going to share with us today? And then Nancy and I are going to drop our cameras out so you get the full screen.
Oh, excellent. I'm thrilled. So I love sharing it with you lovely ladies. So today what I have a bunch actually. But so first I'd like to talk about telehealth. I know if I was a parent, and I'm not currently, or that I know of, actually I would know that. So I wanted to talk about telehealth and how telehealth works and some empirically backed studies that does indicate telehealth is a lovely choice for you and your child. I want to talk about screen time. So I know a lot of kiddos and a lot of families are probably having a lot more screen time and screen access than typical. So talking about that. And then if I have the time, I'd also like to plug a potential ebook situation. So some access.
Absolutely. Take it away. We can go right to the top of the hour, but I got to stop right at the top of the hour.
Okay, perfect. I've got 11 minutes. I can
yes.
do this. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. And thank you so much for having me on. It's always a highlight. So it's nice to close the week out with it. So first and foremost, what I want to talk about is there was an article by Vismara and colleagues that came out in 2018 that was looking at telehealth. And so what that program looked like is they were doing 1.5-hour video conferencing, so with a supervisor and a parent, and then that supervisor was helping the parent run sessions with their child, answering any questions the parent came up during the week, things like that. And then on top of that, the parent also had access to videos that were coaching and things like that, that were, you know, all of the ABA jargon. And so what they compared were doing 12 weekly 1.5-hour video conferencing sessions along with the videos that the parent could watch at any point, compared with a group that had monthly 1.5-hour video sessions and also the access to the video. So the only thing they were changing there was weekly versus monthly. And what they found was super lovely, I think, was that the video conferencing was extremely helpful. All the parents felt very good. They did a survey after. All the parents felt very good and strong about their skills. They also saw improvements with their children. And so that's first off great, right? Like we see some empirical data that very recent 2018, this isn't from 2006, which there are studies about that also show this. So this has been going on for a very long time. But we do have evidence here that telehealth is an excellent alternative if you're nervous about people coming into your home, or if you don't have the option of having home sessions. Telehealth is a very, very good one to keep progress going with your child. So first off, regardless of anything, telehealth, excellent. And then second off, what they found too was that the parents that were in the weekly versus the monthly saw and felt more comfortable with the telehealth. And that makes sense. As they're doing telehealth, as they're doing it more frequently, the parents, the kiddos, the supervisors, everyone involved feels a lot better. You get into the rhythm of it. You can potentially have more gains as you get more comfortable. So really, what I want to plug there is telehealth is a great alternative. Don't be scared of it. You can be nervous about it. That's totally reasonable, but please give it a try. And to also recognize the supervisor might be nervous about it too. So be comfortable sharing both of your nervousness about it and to kind of troubleshoot, walk through it. But please give it a try. Telehealth is an excellent alternative if people are concerned, and appropriately so during this time period. And then also do it frequently. Don't just do it every once a month. Do it every week if you can, if your insurance covers it, if your job allows for it, things like that. The more that you practice telehealth, the better it'll come, the better outcomes you'll see. And on top of that, you can continue doing telehealth once, and we will get out of this COVID-19 situation. Once we are out of it, telehealth is something that you can potentially continue doing every once a week, every 2 weeks, whatever it looks like, especially if it's been hard for you as a parent to get to the center or to make time with the supervisor, to be working through those coaching things. So this is a time where we could also use that as a potential to then continue that down the line. So telehealth, very cool, very exciting stuff. Like I said, I have articles from the early 2000s talking about this. So it's not even that new. It's just that we're a little hesitant, and reasonably so. But it has some great alternatives. Do it frequently, and work with your supervisor and your clinical team to kind of work through that. That's my first article.
I just want to jump in for a second to say, because this is uncharted territory for a lot of people. And Nancy, feel free to jump back in too, because I know Nancy has continued to do therapy and have therapists coming to the home. But I imagine that have they offered you telehealth as well, Nancy?
Yes, they have.
Have you tried it yet?
We have not tried telehealth yet. We've been doing, of course, Wyatt has been doing online learning at school, but we haven't done it with our ABA program.
But I would love to challenge you, Nancy, if you have time in this next week, before we come back next week, to ask your supervisor if at least because you're still meeting with your supervisor and she's still coming to the home, and that's great. But I would love it if you would ask her, hey, could we do one of these sessions on telehealth so that I can speak intelligently to this about how this was for me and how it went, so that you can add to what parents, because I know anytime that somebody is helping us to learn about our kids, for me, it was painful. It was painful because I want to appear like I have it together, and I want to be my kid's mom, and I want to, we all have this thing that when our kids are in our arms, we feel like we're supposed to know everything about them, and it's very humbling when we don't. And I don't like feeling like an idiot. And I especially don't like feeling like an idiot about something I care deeply about, right? I never want to appear unprepared, and especially where my kiddo is concerned. So whenever somebody is teaching us about our kiddos, it's hard to begin with. And I do think that, we've all gotten accustomed to a certain extent, that face-to-face thing. I'm just going to guess that for some of us, it would be easier to do it in telehealth because we're a little less self-conscious. I still don't want to appear like an idiot, right? So we got to humble ourselves to say there's things this person who probably is younger than me is going to be able to teach me about my kid. I know it's painful. But I'm going to guess, Nancy, that it might be more convenient and that it might feel more comfortable once you get used to the technology. But I'd love for you to try that out for me.
Right. Well, we have a clinic coming up next week, so I don't know whether that's planned to be doing, whether we're planning to do that online.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Will you report back to us next week?
Yes, definitely.
We'll do a little of our own research, Leah.
Yeah. I love it. That's fantastic.
Wonderful. Okay, so what was your next thing? And we'll turn our cameras off.
I mean, I'm happy to share the screen. And I'll also plug too, your supervisors or in your clinical team, telehealth is probably very new for them as well. So be kind there too. They probably also, they don't want to look like idiots either. And so they're trying their best, but there's probably going to be technical issues, things like that are happening. and just work through them kindly.
I chewed up a bunch of your time. Now you've only got 4 minutes.
That's okay. I can talk quick. I got this.
Okay.
And I came onto the show with like a lot of information. So I'll get through what I can. So quickly, the last 3 articles I wanted to talk about were about screen time, because I can only assume that people are having a lot more access to screens and questioning, you know, is it bad that my kid is watching hours of TV or whatnot? So I have a few studies, one quickly about by Jensen and their colleagues that just came out in 2019. Very, very new, didn't look with kids with disabilities or autism, just typically neurotypical children, adolescents, and looked at digital technology and mental health symptoms. So not directly necessarily our population, but just generally for neurotypical kids, it is additional screen time detrimental, especially in the mental health field. And they did not find any links to it or evidence for it. So
Wow.
that's really nice to see.
Yeah.
Surprising, but great. So quick plug on that your kiddos are probably, again, we don't know everything, and they were doing surveys. There's whenever I come on, I'm always trying to say, you know, scientists are humans too. They're trying their best, but there are flaws. So there are certainly flaws in this group. But for the most part, you know, their findings were that there was little evidence to no linkage of adverse effects on the mental health for, again, these are typically developing neurotypical young adolescents,
but that's encouraging all the same. So we can cut ourselves a little bit of slack, and we've got enough other things to worry about. Maybe take that one off the plate for this week.
Right.
Okay.
So there's a lot of extra screen time going on this week.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. And how do you want to wind this up?
So I'm winding and I'm winding. Okay. So, I got 2 minutes. Okay. So the last thing I want to talk about is I found 2 articles, fairly recent, 2016 and 2015, that we're looking at, and I don't know this show, but apparently people are into it. It's called Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. It's a spinoff, I think, of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yes, it's great.
Yeah, I hear it's wonderful.
That's what I've heard. And the research also supports that. So I have 2 articles talking about Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. One are typically developing kids again, and about the impact of watching Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood on encouraging emotional and social emotional health. And in addition to that, I found an article that did look at children with ASD, only 2. So again, like I usually plug, be mindful of the fact that 2 kids is very small. So you can only take away so much from that, take it with a grain of salt. But they did find that watching Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood taught these 2 children with ASD 2 different skills. One was accepting new foods, and one was stopping play appropriately. And they found that after watching the show, they actually were doing those skills really lovely and better than they were at baseline. That is 11 a.m. on the
okay. Thank you so much. You did it. And we appreciate you so much. I'm going to log off with a couple of things here. First of all, Nancy, you can turn your camera back on if you want to. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay,
and we'll hopefully next week we'll have more time to talk with you. Somebody did write in who is a mom of someone on the spectrum, but also has a student that she's an aide for that has a particularly icky thing where they're blowing their nose and eating it. And wanting some help and support with that. And I want to say, since you're an aide in the classroom, there is very likely a BCBA who is assigned to that case. And now, while schools are shut down, is the perfect time to reach out to that BCBA and say, I need you to do a FBA, a functional behavior assessment, and I want a behavior intervention plan, because it is preventing socialization with the other kiddos. Plus, it's a health concern. And it can be something that's targeted at home during this period of time when people are home. But get that BCBA who has eyes on the case to help and support you. And then the next time we're here, we'll try to give you some strategies as well. But ladies, we're back next week. And next week is World Autism Awareness Day. And Temple Grandin will be with us on that show. Woohoo!
Fantastic.
Live picture and sound, the whole 9 yards. We're thrilled. And we got a big week for you. So I'm going to sign off here. But ladies, thank you for being here, and thank all of you for being here.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Okay.
I'll sign off as well.
Thank you. We'll be back on Monday. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me.
And give yourselves a hug from me.
All right. Bye-bye, you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.